normally the scheduling of debates are not a hot topic at all, right? Media organizations, they just report on the dates and that's it, and we move on, right? However, Liberal leader Mark Carney, he recently backed out of the traditional TVA debate called Face à Face. He said he wouldn't do it because Elizabeth May and the Green Party wasn't invited. Now, as a Quebecer, as a co-leader of the Green Party, now that the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois have said that they would be fine with the Green Party attending, and the Conservatives, tongue in cheek, said that they would pay the fee for the Liberals. Um, do you want to be there for a second French debate? Is I guess what I would say.
Hmm. It's a very interesting question, and one I've responded a lot about this in recent days about in the Quebec media. Look, the TVA is charging $75,000 of each parties to attend. We were not invited because they set up specific criteria. One of them is to have an elected MP in Quebec by the time the writ drops, which was in our case. So as a result of that, Greens had not been invited. We made some approaches, of course, to TVA to see if there was a way for us to nonetheless participate, because we think that it's important to have a diversity of voices around the table. The response was negative. Um, but that aside, and TVA is entitled as a media enterprise to set up the rules that they want when it comes to those debates. But one thing that we strongly object to as Greens is the monetarization of democracy. It is, media provides a public service to Canadians. All media in Canada receives some form of help from all Canadians through tax credits and other measures. Of course, CBC Radio Canada, being the public broadcaster, receives the bulk of that, and that's a choice that we collectively made decades ago, and one that I stand by as a former journalist. I think it's crucial to have a strong national media that's independent from the pressures of specific individuals who own the private channels. I don't want to see Canada turn into the United States or other such media markets. But for us, to see TVA as a private channel ask $75,000 to hold a debate, it's sort of like democracy is not an ATM, like, right? Like, it's improper of them to ask for that money. And I don't care as to whether if the Conservatives can spend all of their treasury into that if they want, but for me, as a question of principle, uh, this is not how national debates should be held. National debates should be held on the basis of having a party being, you know, having members of parliament. The commission, the National Independent Commission for the debates, which set up the rules for the CBC Radio Canada debates that will be held later in this election, they have a set of three criteria, which I think are pretty good, right? One, and you need to hit two of those. One of them is to have at least 4% of in the polling in the polling for 2 weeks after the start of the election. Another one is to have at least 90% of your candidates nominated throughout the country. So that's about 310 candidates in the context that we have 343 seats. And the third criteria is to have elected members of parliament at the time that the writ drops. Now, I believe that we as Greens are hitting all three criteria. We will be at the national debates. I think that's a pretty reasonable set of criteria. One where you only have to hit two out of three. And that opens up the space for a variety of voices that do exist in Canadian society and need to be heard. And it shouldn't be about the party's ability to pay these outrageous fees. It should be up to just how relevant one is to the democratic debate.